This is third rich salt, crafted the way only a few makers still do. It starts with the sea, but the timing of the tide, the pull of the moon, the heat of the flame change everything. Each unique batch of salt reflects the precise conditions in which it was made, and only one person knows the exact moment the salt is ready. Namikoshi is the maker behind every grain. Most days you'll find him here, in a small cafe by the sea, cooking with the very salt he creates.
今はですね、ハンバーグを今日のランチ用のハンバーグを、準備してこれから焼くところですね。
In his kitchen, each salt has a job.
うちの一般的な調理用でよく使う粉雪っていう名前の塩を使ってます。
Konayuki means powder snow. It's a fine salt that dissolves quickly and blends straight into food.
その塩味自体はそこまで強くない分、他のその旨味とか複雑味があるので、塩味をつけるっていうよりかはですね、その素材に寄り添うであったりとか、素材を引き出すみたいなのにとても向いてるなと。
His go-to for everyday cooking, it adds flavor without dominating the dish. But when he's working with lighter flavors like vegetables, fruits, and desserts, he switches to mangetsu, the full moon salt. It's made with seawater collected at full moon and boiled over high heat, rich in minerals and deeper in flavor.
いろんなミネラルが入ってるので、味の厚みが強いっていう表現がおそらく合ってると思います。満月を入れることによってその味の優しい、そこまで味の強いものが引き立って甘みを増すっていうような特徴があります。なので調理用っていうよりかは植物性だとかフルーツの、シンプルな味を引き立てるものに使ってもらうと一番合います。
Then there's shingetsu, new moon brine boiled on steady heat that works best with leaner protein.
もう本当見た目は一緒なんですけど、味が全然違うくて。
And lastly, for meat and fat, there's arare, crystals formed slowly over a low, steady flame. Every salt he makes begins here, a quiet coastline in western Kagawa, shaped by the Seto Inland Sea. Kagawa may be Japan's smallest prefecture, but it's rich in craft. Hand-pulled udon, the pink slopes of Mount Shiude, and the gardens that spill down its hillsides. And along this coast sits Nio, Namikoshi's hometown. The sea shapes his salts, so he built a cafe right by the waters. It quickly turned into the town's meeting point, where locals gather and catch up over Namikoshi's food. Nio is a small town, and like many coastal communities, it has grown quieter over the years. The young have moved to the cities, schools have fewer children, and once busy shopping streets now sit in silence by dusk. Namikoshi was among those who left, trading the slow rhythm of the sea for the rush of Tokyo.
サラリーマンで、1年間東京にいたんですけれども、その仕事はですね、ちょっとこう一生続けるには自分には向いてないなと思って、そこで初めて自分が何をしたいのかなって考えた時に、人のすぐそばで笑顔を見たいっていうふうに思ってですね、
僕本当に自炊とかできないタイプなんですけど、こう弾丸 みんなでご飯食べよう会みたいなのに、呼んでもらってひたすらご飯食べさせてくれたりとかっていう、本当にね愛くれる人です。
美味しいです。ここに来ると野菜がたくさん食べれるのと、見た目も綺麗なのと、本当にここ買って美味しいと思うパンです。
一番のごちそうは和食でもフレンチでもファストフードでもなく、みんなで美味しく楽しく食べるっていうのが一番のごちそうだと思ってるので、どんな高級料理でも喧嘩をしてるパートナーとだったら全然美味しくないだろうし、どんないい食材でも健康を害して一人で食べてたら美味しくないだろうし。
8 years after leaving Tokyo, he found what he came home for: the warmth of people, the simple joy of sharing food.
ある程度お店が落ち着いた時にやりきってしまったところがあってですね、借金も返して欲しいものが全て手に入った状態になった時に、ちょっとやりきってしまった感じになって、でちょっと次のステージを探してる時に、時代的に地方創生っていう言葉が世の中に出だして、
The town's first step toward revitalization was to restore the old village chief's mansion. They invited Namikoshi to be part of the project.
その村長さんが何で財を成したかっていうと、塩作りだったんですね。文化の復活と建物の復活ができれば面白いなと思って塩を作り始めたのがきっかけですね。最初のきっかけでした。ここが、塩を作る小屋になってます。でここを開けるとですね、こういう風に窯があってですね。
Every morning, Namikoshi lights the fire, the first step in turning seawater into salt.
それを煮詰めるのにだいたい1ヶ月ぐらい、塩ができるまで煮詰めなきゃいけないんですけれども、その最初、だいたい 20% ぐらいまで煮詰めるところまではあまり、気を使わなくていいというか。
That's the easy part, because what comes next isn't. Beyond this point, the brine turns unpredictable, and one mistaken heat can ruin the batch. The Seito Inland Sea sits between Japan's main islands, a wide stretch of calm water moving through straits and channels. On the surface, it looks gentle. Locals call it the quiet sea. But underneath that softness is a chemistry all its own, shaping every liter of water Namikoshi draws. This is where it begins, with his father working alongside him. They've gathered water from this spot for years, pulling it up from Chichibukahama Beach, the part of the Seito Inland Sea that borders their hometown of Nio.
今は、海水をポンプで引き上げて、で軽トラの上にあるタンクに移してるところですね。だいたい10分ぐらいで、300リットルのタンクがいっぱいになるので、
Their setup is simple: a handmade pipe, a few tools, and an understanding of the tide that comes from years of watching it.
わかりやすく言うと、ジュースに長いストローがあって、空気がジュースがここまで来てないのを吸おうと思ったら結構大変じゃないですか。それがもうここまでジュースがストローに入ってると、チュッて吸ったらもう入るじゃないですか。
His father built the device himself, a system of pipes that draws seawater from beneath the sand.
この先にストレーナーがついてるんです。ゴミ分けがね。ほんで逆止弁があって、水が逃げない、吸うけど出ないいうタイプになってるわけ。だからそこから水入れても水がいっぱいになるわけね。
They refined the setup over time, finding a way to draw seawater cleanly without pulling sand in with it.
ここで止まってますから水が。この一番最初のこの弁があるわけ。でこれが吸うわけですね。 汚れ来ないために溶かしてるわけ。そうしよう。こうやって直に触れてないわけ。ほんできれいな水を取る。
Timing matters as much as technique. Namikoshi doesn't follow a fixed schedule. He waits for the right conditions. A calm tide, clear water, steady wind, and the right moon. Each batch comes out different, shaped by the moment it was taken. Once the water is drawn, the next element takes over. The fire is more than fuel, it's part of the craft.
この今切ってる木とかもこの地域の産業廃棄物で、本来であればこう事業者さんがお金を出して捨てなきゃいけないものをこうやってつながることで僕も買わなくていいし、その事業者さんもお金を出すことなく有効活用できるというので、お互いにとってすごい助かるっていうので、いい関係を作れています。
That exchange matters. It's a reminder that this salt is shaped by the community around him.
結構やっぱりね、いろんな人が関わってくれてるので、単純になんていうんかな、塩を作ってるっていうのではなくて、こう地域内のつながりを作ってると思ってもらったら嬉しいですね。
Because for Namikoshi, it's never just about the salt. It's about restoring something the town once had. But not everyone shared his enthusiasm.
それをみんなに作ろうよって相談したら全否定されて、そんなん作ってどうするんよとか、今更作っても無駄よとか、時代が違うから綺麗な美味しい塩が海水からできるわけないよ。
But he tried anyway, starting with the one thing he could control: fire.
火力が弱くなって消えるっていうこともあるんで、今入れてる木がね、結構燃えやすいタイプの油の多い木なんで、今はこれを蓋をしても多分消えることはないので。
How Namikoshi manages the flame decides what kind of salt would be born. When the seawater thickens and the first crystals appear, his instinct takes over.
こう結晶ができ始めた時に、そこからちょっと火加減に注意をして、一応在庫と状況を見て、今回は粗いのにしようかな、細かいのにしようかなっていうのは決めます。
These small shifts in heat are what define Third Ridge salt. A slow, low flame builds coarse crystals. Turn the fire up and the boil tightens. Evaporation speeds up, forming a fine salt with small, even grains. Using a small wood-burning kiln, he follows one of the slowest methods of salt making. It takes nearly a month of steady heat to reduce seawater into crystals. But along this coast, salt was once made in end-end fields. Broad sand beds where seawater was spread thin, left for the sun and wind to concentrate before boiling. The method lasted for centuries until the 1970s, when new ion exchange technology allowed factories to extract salt from brine quickly and cheaply. The old fields have disappeared, and so did most of the makers. Today, only a small number of artisans across Japan still work with seawater the traditional way. In Kagawa, Namikoshi is among the few keeping the craft alive.
今よく天日で昔干してたのをしないんですかとか言われるんですけど、今はやっぱ昔に比べたら排気ガスであったりとか、ちょっと空気が汚れてるんじゃないかなと思って。
It's also about keeping a real physical connection to the work, something he fears is disappearing.
今の特に若い子っていうのは日常に生の炎っていうのが極端に少ないんですよね。 YouTube で炎を見てますっていうようなそんなことを聞いたらですね、人間としてとても弱い存在になるんじゃないのかなって思って、
Chichibugahama sits along Kagawa's western coast, a wide reflective beach that turns to glass at low tide. People come for the photographs, the sunsets, the stillness. For locals, it's more than a backdrop. It's the shoreline that feeds Namikoshi's salt.
ちょっと秩父ヶ浜の中心のところで、もうこの海岸をですね、30年近く守ってくれてる。
Once a month, Namikoshi joins a volunteer group to pick trash along the beach.
その潮の流れ的にはここにこうゴミが集まってくるぐらい、ここにこう集まってくる海域なんですよね。
The sea is the center of life here.
はい、運河のね、麓ぐらいまでね、行きましょう。
It's where their salt begins and where their fish come from. Keeping this beach clean isn't just upkeep. It's protecting the very thing the town depends on. Back at the salt hut, the same seawater has been boiling for weeks. The fire that's been burning day after day has done its work. Now, it's time to harvest what the sea has left behind. As crystals begin to form and the salt is ready, Namikoshi scoops it out. It's then spun in a small centrifuge, a simple machine that separates crystal from liquid, leaving the salt dry and fine. The process also draws out bittern, or nigari, a mineral-rich brine.
最後の工程としては、このカルシウムのですね、かけらであったりとか、ちょっと炭とかのね、黒いぽっちりとした汚れがあるので、そういうのをハンドピッキング、もうこれはもう完全に目視ですね。一応全工程が終了になります。
The salt is finally ready. Clean, white, and full of the minerals of the Seto Inland Sea. Even the leftover nigari finds a new life. It travels down the road to Imagawa, the young heir to the neighborhood supermarket. Away from the bustle of the shop, he makes tofu in small batches occasionally. And when he does, it's Namikoshi's nigari that binds the soy milk into smooth, gentle curds.
このにがりもですね、波越さんの場合だと、まあその時のそのにがりの加減によっていろんな濃さの、ただその濃さによって豆乳に対して入れるにがりの量も変わってきます。で、例えば濃いものだと少なめに入れます。薄いものだとちょっと量多めに入れたりとか。
The nigari is rich with minerals drawn from the sea, and it acts as a natural coagulant. When it's added to warm soy milk, traces of the ocean like magnesium, calcium, and salt bind with the soy proteins, turning liquid into curds. And because the sea is never the same twice, neither is the nigari. Each batch carries subtle differences in taste and texture, making every tofu a little different from the last.
沸かし方とかで全然変わって、その加減、そのどのぐらい長さとかいろんなものによって多分変わってくるんですけども、本当にまあなんかやっぱ一定じゃないのが僕はすごく自然で好きなんですよね。なんかこれがなんかこうやっぱこの地元で撮ってるからこそのまあなんか良さというか自然な感じというかっていう意味でずっと波越さんのにがりを使わせてもらってます。
In Neo, one man's byproduct becomes another man's ingredient, a small circle of craft that keeps the town connected. Beyond Neo, Namikoshi's salt has found its way into the hands of chefs across Japan. No Code is a modern Tokyo restaurant led by chef Fumio Yonezawa. He's one of Japan's most celebrated chefs and the first Japanese sous chef at New York's Michelin-starred Jean-Georges. Here, namikoshi salt is used with the same artistry it was made with.
Today we're gonna cook dry aging beef and the very simple style to like a saute like a really high heat and nice and get cross and dry aged beef and then the sprinkle with namikoshi salt and the beef flavors and the salt and then eat together as simple as possible.
The Wagyu has been aged for weeks, its richness quietly intensifying with time.
And a little bit of butter to get the little flavors from like oil, just a piece of garlic. So then that's to finish with cooking the beef. So now it's a good rare, I think. So like I have to like make it brown butter to get a little bit of garlic flavor.
All that's left is the final touch.
Yeah, I'm using the shingetsu. Mangetsu sounds good, but when I taste it, the shingetsu, it's the one was like my favorite. I just like for the flavors and the taste. So like when I visit the Namikoshi-san's place and then they taste like a bunch of different salt, then I really like that, the shingetsu one. So that's what I decide.
From Neo's quiet shores to a Tokyo kitchen, the salt carries more than flavor.
なぜかというと塩を作ってるって一言で言ってもそれを作ることによってすごいその地域のいろんな環境であったり文化生活を守ってるつながってると思ってるので
In its grains are the tides that feed the town, the fire that binds its people, and the belief that something as simple as salt can hold an entire community together.